Geoff, let's start off. What would be your top 3 priorities if you were elected sheriff?
I think the number one priority has to be continuing delivery of services, our core services that we're mandated to provide. One of them is a jail. You know, we spend over $125 million a year running our jail facilities, and that's a mandate that we have to do. It's an expensive proposition. I'm really big on youth outreach programs. And while we've been really good on assertive enforcement of gang violence with youth, we haven't been really good about working with kids on the front end. I'm on the board of Casa Pacifica, and I really believe in working with troubled youth out there. Excuse me. And I think we need to look at alternative ways to deliver the services that we do deliver. We need to look to some alternatives for custody, alternatives for just housing people in jails, alternatives for our youth, and alternatives for people coming out of our jail facility so we can help them assimilate more productively back into the communities and be successful and not just continue with the 70% recidivism rate that we have.
Thanks, Geoff. Many people believe that money should be directed towards prevention instead of incarceration. What is the proper balance in your mind? And I know you believe in programs that attempt to keep kids away from gangs and drugs, but what type of efforts will you make if elected sheriff?
Well, there's kind of a balance. We had 2 homicide convictions in the past 2 days, one for somebody trying to cut a little girl's throat and stabbing the father, and another one for somebody went in a multiple shooting. We have to keep those people in jail. We just have to lock some people up. It's just the way it is. But there are some offenders that we need to look for alternatives and how we house those people and what we do, and do they really need to be in custody? The other thing that we used to do that we quit doing, and I'll start again, is we had a transitional, and we actually called it transitions to help people assimilate back in. The state actually created a program because they're releasing all these inmates that they've talked about, but it's designed to help those people assimilate back into a workforce, especially one that's more challenging than ever with 10–11% unemployment. So that's where my focus will change. And we have to have a balance of both. We have to be able to keep some people incarcerated, but we really need to work hard to find alternatives for the majority of the population.
And Geoff and the other candidates, we'll cut you some slack on the time because it's not a debate. So feel free to finish your thoughts and inform everyone.
Chuck said, please stop, so I was trying to get used to it. And I left my gun in the car, so I don't have any.
Just a reminder, I'm looking for question cards. If you have one, just raise your hand. Geoff, the city of Ventura has its own police force. Why would people here in Ventura need to really worry about who's elected sheriff?
Well, we all need to work together, and we have to have a collaborative effort. I'm really excited that Chief Corney, your chief here, in fact, all the chiefs of police in Ventura County are supporting and endorsing me. And actually, I got a great endorsement today, and it's a great place to announce it. Supervisor Steve Bennett. And that really meant a lot. So Kathy Long and John Zaragoza and now Steve Bennett are all supporting me. So that's really important. But it's a collaborative effort that we all need to work together so we don't duplicate resources. And criminals don't observe geographic boundaries. They don't cross back and forth. So we need to share resources, and we need to work together, and we need to be able to borrow back and forth instead of replicating extra officers in one city. Well, maybe we need to share for 1 day or 2 days and send those people over there to help reduce the cost of delivering the services that we have to.
Well, perhaps you could elaborate on what the sheriff does to provide services to the cities, the lab and the jails.
We're the best around, so in 2 minutes I couldn't get it all in. We do run the jails, and so we incarcerate inmates from every city in the county. We have the only crime lab, and despite what it says in CSI, we cannot solve a murder in 37 minutes. It just doesn't happen that way. But we do all the DNA, we do alcohol testing, that all comes to our crime lab. We have the only bomb squad in Ventura County, and sadly, there's a lot of calls. Post 911, it's amazing how many calls for explosive devices we actually get. The big yellow helicopters you see up in the sky, although the firemen like to take credit for those because they do good things, those are actually Sheriff's Department helicopters. We subcontract out to the fire department to drop water, so we don't have that duplication of services. We're also the disaster coordinator for the entire county. So if some major event happens in Ventura, whether it's a wildland fire, whatever it is, and the city of Ventura runs out of resources, you go through the sheriff, and we go to the state and the feds to not only bring additional resources in, but just as importantly, get the financial recovery of the costs that the city might have expended to deal with whatever disaster happens to arise.